Grab a cup of joe, buckle up, and let's embark on a journey of self-discovery, creativity, and entrepreneurship. Let's get rolling.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Rhythm of the Road podcast. We are back here on the threes, and so that is our Power of Podcasting series. And, you know, we've talked about all of the how-tos of podcasting and why do we do podcasting and kind of all of the nuts and bolts. And so I thought it would be amazing today to bring on Lindsay, who is really an expert in helping people be guests on podcasts. And I'm going to let her dive into why and how and what. But what I think was really important, and, you know, Lindsay and I met through a mutual colleague, really, in the podcasting world, Christine. And she is just a ball of life. And so just really grateful for that connection. So Christine, if you're listening and watching, thank you. Yes. I appreciate the introduction. And, you know, I think I was also able to kind of walk through a piece of your program, Lindsay, just in terms of the interview process. And I can share just up front here quickly of the power it has made and how much better of a guest I can be on other folks' podcast. And a little bit how to support guests who come on my podcast who maybe are not as fluent as being a guest, right? So even as a host, I hope that you listeners and those of you watching get a chance to be like, oh, this is how I could actually help support that person in case they don't have the skills Lindsay's about to share with you. So Lindsay, welcome to the Rhythm of the Road podcast.
I am so glad to be here. And yes, very grateful that Christine introduced us. I love everything that you're doing.
Well, thank you. We're doing the same kinds of things. And I think that provides like an awesome synergy and energy. And we look at this experience of podcasting from different lenses, but you know, it always feels like, Lindsay, we're headed the same direction, right? We want the host to be successful and the guest to be successful because ultimately you're helping to build that brand and you're helping to build that authority. And those who are building brand and authority probably like things like leads and sales and all of those kinds of things. I mean, I know we do.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. But, you know, Lindsay, talk a little bit about what it is you're doing with folks who are going to be guests on podcasts or already are.
You bet. I am so passionate about helping guests. I feel like there's not enough resources out there. It's mostly on the host side. And so what's happening is that a lot of guests are showing up on podcasts and they sort of feel like that they have no control. And I've been there. It's like, it's the host show. I'm just going to sit here and ask questions. Sometimes they go rogue and ask things that are all over the place. Or like for me, I used to do podcast production as well. And so worked with hosts and guests. And so they would kind of mix it up. And some questions were about one and then question about another. And I sort of felt like at the end of it, the listener, do they even really know what it is that I'm doing? Like, and how I can help them and, you know, my area of expertise. And so I got super frustrated with guesting on shows. And I hear this all the time. I'm on all of these shows, but I haven't really got any leads and clients. And so part of the problem though is that they don't realize how much strategy they can actually put into it and that you can actually control the outcome to some degree, but you can control the actual interview itself and what you're saying. Yeah, I'm just really want guests to see and understand the power that they can have to create the outcome that they want.
So that's interesting. And correct me if I'm wrong, and this is what I just heard you say, as a guest on a podcast, we can actually help kind of control the narrative and the outcomes of it, even though we're not the host.
Yes, I know. It sounds kind of strange. So I'll position it one way first. So let me first share that it's how you think of the conversation, right? It's not going on a show, talking about your journey if you're using guesting to grow your business. It's not talking about AI because it's trendy. You want to talk about something that is super intentional. So the conversations that you're going to have on podcasts needs to bridge the gap between your ideal client, their pain and what they're struggling with, and your offers. And so when you think of it that way, I call it a bridge to profit. When you think of it that way, you're like, what is the topic? Is it relevant to the audience? Does it showcase your expertise? Does it inform the host of all the juicy stuff that you're going to share on this show and what value you're going to give? And is it intentional for your business? Because I know I've made the mistake of going on shows, talking about email marketing because it was the hot topic. I knew enough of it to be dangerous. I did it for many VIP clients, but it wasn't the bread and butter of my business. Content marketing was like social. And so people were reaching out about services that I didn't actually have, right? I'm like, it's a hot topic.
Right.
And so, of course, you're not going to get the results. So that to me is like the first and foremost in really thinking of it as that bridge between your audience's pain and your offers. So the topic is key. In regards to controlling the conversation, let me share you why it happens a lot. And when I discovered this, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. So the normal one sheet, right, has like 3 topics on it, and then it'll have maybe 7 to 10 questions. But the questions are often 2 questions about topic 1, 2 questions about topic 2. Maybe 2 of the questions are like about your entrepreneurial journey in general. And so, yes, you want to have the one sheet, like, don't get me wrong, it's got its place. And yes, you want to have questions for the host, but they don't know your expertise. They don't know your frameworks. They don't know your topic. So they don't really know fully what to ask. So by default, they grab that one sheet and they ask those questions. And that's why the conversations end up feeling super random, like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's not on one topic that takes the audience from problem to solution. So in my Conversations That Convert program, I work with clients, and obviously we craft a topic that is strategic, but then we actually craft the interview questions so that the flow of the conversation is strategic. And so for me as a host, kind of flipping the mic here, I actually ask my guests, what are some interview questions that you want me to ask? Because I want to make sure that they look good. I want to make sure that their expertise is showcased. And I want to make sure that the audience has a ton of value. And so don't be afraid to give the host interview questions. Like, hey, I know this is the topic that we spoke about, and here's some interview questions to help guide the conversation to make sure that your listeners get a ton of value. I don't know about you, Jeremy, but I love when guests give me questions.
I
mean, it depends on your podcast, obviously, but
right. But I even think on this podcast, we keep things a bit more organic and more conversational. And, and I say that as a generality, but I can also say that when I've been on podcasts and as a guest and they say it's conversational, sometimes maybe they don't know how to carry that conversation. And previous to having a conversation with you, I would always go down let me tell you my story and how did I get here? And right, we have story vomit, right? Instead of, well, I'm here. And yes, all of those things are good and relevant and paint a picture or create a snapshot. But then if you have those interview questions that are pointed at your business, then I feel like that host can ask questions maybe in their way, maybe they take
Yeah.
they're not reading. A good host is not going to read the
No,
question from
and
the
I'm not
sheet.
saying it's not a scripted conversation,
No.
but it's a framework to guide it.
Yeah. And I think it settles you in. And even if
Yeah.
you start somewhere and it takes you maybe not walking them down your one sheet or whatever.
Yeah.
Side note, if you didn't hear what she said, that maybe you should create a one sheet as a guest, as a guide or a framework when you go on a podcast, please go do that. It's so
Yes.
valuable. It's so valuable. Okay, sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to make sure
good.
that folks who are listening and watching didn't gloss over what you said around having that, not because it's like the rule, but it will help.
Especially when you're pitching.
Yes.
But I don't know if you caught this or not, but when you asked me about having more control over the conversation, I said, let me frame the situation first.
Yep.
Let me first give you the foundation. And I talked about that bridge to profits. So again, that's a technique that you can use so that if things do jump around a little bit, you can just say, hey, I want to make sure that the audience understands this foundational piece before I get into that. And that's okay. You're serving the audience, but it is a tool to help kind of like guide that conversation the way you want it to go.
So once they've have that framework, how do they actually put that framework to work?
So I have 5 pieces of architecture over this bridge that we call the bridge to profits. So the 5 pieces of architecture that you want to build out in your conversation is your topic. Again, obviously your topic has to be strategic. I call it your billboard ready topic because your topic is actually your billboard. That's what gets you booked, right? What the host sees. And sometimes it becomes the title of the episode. So it's also what the potential listener sees. Is it for them? Is it going to benefit them? What is it about? And then the second I call it the interview GPS. So your interview questions. And then the third are the talking points. And you want to be concise. You want to be strategic. You want to be very clear and not rambly. You want to showcase your expertise. The fourth are story sound bites, which are super crucial. You can seed your programs, seed your offers, but it shows people how you work with your clients and the results that you get in a way that's not like salesy and awkward. And then the last piece is your call to action. That is obviously key because that is your offer, like your off ramp off the bridge, right? It's getting them on the way to your offers. It's their natural next step. So those are the 5 main pieces that make up a conversation that converts.
It sounds so simple, Lindsay.
That's what a framework's for.
It sounds so simple, right? And I
know.
I think what's amazing about that framework, and and I can share that Lindsay has shared this framework with me prior, and was even, we walked through a process where she was willing to watch a couple of episodes as me being a guest or listen and kind of critique that and give me some feedback around that. And I was not doing it in this framework way prior to our conversation, and so I think that even for me to share, it does really work, and it helps you to be thinking about those things. And it's not in a gross, uncomfortable way, because it's still very conversational. In fact, it seemingly is better conversation because it's the things you're excited about doing anyway, right? Your example about email marketing, and, it's like, I could come on here and talk about social media all the time because I've done that. And I've worked in an agency, and I'm like, and yes, I can do all of those things, and that's fine. But like, that's not my focus. Like,
Exactly.
Here's my focus, and let's stay with that, because that still shows that consistency piece. And that's what a podcast host, if they're, if you're pitching to them, they have an expectation that you're going to deliver on your content because you're the expert, not because it's, what would be a billboard topic that doesn't align with you, right? You're just trying to do the hot topic rather than a billboard topic. right?
100%. And the cool thing about a billboard ready topic is you can actually seed your frameworks in there. So if my topic happened to be how to craft a conversation that converts to attract more leads and clients in your podcast guest interviews, obviously that's crazy long.
Sure.
But my point here is what is the benefit? People are going to get more leads and clients from their guest interviews. But it also showcases that I have like a method, a proven formula, a process, and it's conversation that convert. So when a host sees that, they're like, ooh, they've got a quote unquote proven model, and it's something that's different. It's not what everyone else is talking about. And so I find that a lot of guests almost undersell or undervalue what it is that they do. I did an interview impact review, much like when I did for you, for a client. And he is like an expert in, like emotional intelligence.
Okay.
Like, it's like, damn, like it was good stuff. And he has like frameworks and models and what have you. And he wasn't putting that in his like topics. The topic was more general, like I can't even remember what it is right now. Something to do with creativity or experience, or it didn't even have an emotional intelligence in it. But if he put his framework that was in the title, you'd be like, ooh, what's that? And then explain the benefit of it. And then obviously, you know, some of the feedback that I gave was to showcase and talk about his framework, because then people can see the body of his work and what he does with clients versus just sharing tips. And the stories that he was sharing was just about him. They weren't seeding or showcasing the programs and the work that he does with his clients. So again, the listeners don't understand what he did, and they couldn't picture what it was like to work with him. And so naturally, this is so common. I see it all the time. Then the listeners are like, oh, that's great and interesting information. And then they don't take action. So yeah, just thinking through all of those steps, and don't undersell yourself and undervalue the body of work that you've created and the knowledge that you have. And it's okay to talk about it. You're not being salesy. No. You're not being weird. You're helping the audience. And when you explain it in a way that has a framework or like 3 steps or whatever, it's actually easier for the listener to absorb that information and understand, because you're almost like talking about things in buckets and compartments.
Yes.
Versus, you know, or like a laundry list of something. They can actually sit, absorb it, and listen and understand it and process it.
Right. And I'm curious, like, as you take that framework model and you have these questions and, you know, you're walking through this with the host, I would imagine there's a lot of repetition, and we all know that humans love repetition. And so they're going to hear that framework or that convert conversations, like they're going to hear those themes like multiple times throughout. So when they go to experience you from your offer, whether that's a lead magnet or, you know, fill in the blank, what that works for you.
Yeah.
They're not unfamiliar. It feels like they already know you differently than if they were just listening passively. But then also those stories, you know, and you shared some language with me of just around like, when I was working with this client, or, you know, at Box 7, we typically do this as part of our process. You know what I mean? So rather than it being, then it doesn't feel salesy. You're literally just talking about
you're not reading a testimonial. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is what we do, and this is how we do it, and this was how I did it with this client, rather than it being, you know, you're not reading, like you said, a testimonial.
Yeah, agreed. in fact, I was doing a story soundbite workshop a couple of months ago and helping people step through it. And I just want to share a piece of value here is that in the story, when you are creating it, think about the emotional hook. So like what happened before, and I actually didn't do this a couple minutes ago, but like weaving in like what did they feel, what was going on beforehand, like really painting a picture, and then obviously like what happened afterwards. But don't do yourself a disservice and skip over the how. Like, oh, I worked with him.
Yes.
And like leave it at that. Or I coached him through the process. Like that's so vague. Like literally talk about all of the things that you've done or an exercise that you used. Or when I gave them a profit projection tool to use, he discovered that, yada, yada, yada. So like really being very specific, because that does allow the listener to understand, oh, she's got this, she's got an exercise or seeding a program. They can kind of picture it a little bit more. I know I was horrible at stories. And yes, I still need to, take my own medicine sometimes and craft them a little bit better. I'm better working with other people than I am on my own stuff, as always. But with the stories, you have to be concise, not like what I'm doing right now. And you want to not undersell yourself, because that happens all the time. And then, oh, I know what it was I was saying. I was horrible at stories. It's still a work in progress. And when someone said that you just have to paint a picture so they can envision it, I was like, oh, I thought like, oh, you have to have some massive transformation, or they have to have lost 150 pounds or gained, $1 million from one client, or it has to be like something crazy, but it doesn't. It just has to show like a shift, an aha, a result. Yes, obviously, whatever that looks like. But yeah, as soon as I heard in my head, you just have to paint a picture, I was like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah. And that was much better picture painted. It was great.
It's like the hairdresser with their own crazy hair, or what is it about the shoemakers?
Yeah. Has the worst shoes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it fits in every industry, right?
Honestly.
The podcast production industry, here I am just, how do I help her get through this? Like, come on, Jeremy. Like, right.
I know.
But I think what's unique about this, Lindsay, and, I like to be transparent on here, and it's just, we're watching this play out in real time. And if you're listening, you're hearing Lindsay kind of talk through this, but this is what her clients go through. Like, you're literally hearing like couldn't be a better story, to be very honest, is like, it's happening in real time right here. Yeah. And, this is what I think you do a reprogramming of thinking and how we think about it and approach these conversations.
Yes.
And think about less of I'm going to be on a podcast. Like, I don't even let folks who say that come on my podcast anymore as a result of, because I'm like, and we filter them anyway, and we're making sure that they're credible. But sometimes I'm like, I want somebody that can come on and do like what you're saying, like provide value from their expertise in a way that's beneficial to my audience, right? Which is also conversely beneficial for me, because likely if you're coming on my podcast, it's something I want to know about, or you're a great human being like yourself, and I just want to have a conversation because we enjoy the same things, right?
Totally.
And as a benefit, the audience is getting something that, right? And which is why I think when this plays out like this, when you're literally like, well, yeah, I mean, I tell my clients this all the time, and yet here I am.
And I'm not perfect, right?
Nobody's
it's like,
perfect.
And sometimes I'm like, I'm on fire today. You know what I mean? Or I have my story sound bites, like I have them all written out and planned out. And then sometimes, you just have a brain gap, or you just get caught up in the moment, or whatever it is. There is not going to be a perfect interview, but you want to be as strategic as you can and take that control back so that you can get better results. And yeah, I don't expect myself to be perfect. I don't expect my clients to be perfect, but I want us all as guests to be equipped to understand the strategies and how to improve. Do I still have ums and ahs when I talk?
Yes.
You know?
We all do.
I know. It's terrible.
That's why we have great editors. And thank you all. I appreciate you very much. You're so helpful to all of us, hosts and guests alike. Lindsay, as you talk about this, like, say they have that knock it out of the park. And, I don't want to spend a super amount of time on this because I think this guest piece is so important for people to hear and capture. But say they have that knock out of the park sort of guest experience. Then what?
Repurpose the hell out of it.
Oh, please say that again. Please say that again.
Repurpose the hell out of it over and over. Yes, I actually had a debate, if you will, on social media the other day, and they said that it's not the guest's job to promote, it's the host's job. And I was like, what? It was like, I had to breathe before I responded. I'm like, no, man, it's a collaboration. Yes. It's not a transaction. I'm not using you. And also, it's your content. And if you're putting it on your blog and you're putting it in YouTube that you've guested in all these episodes, people are seeing you as an authority. Mm-hmm. And you're more likely to get booked on more shows if you're showcasing them. And I use them. Like, I've used an episode that I did like a year ago, and I've taken those clips again, and I've used them to promote mini workshops that I'm doing.
It's brilliant.
So, like, you don't have to do them all to promote that episode. You can use them to get people on the phone, share your lead magnet, promote an event you're doing. Like, leverage the heck out of it, man. It's your content, and people need to hear things over and over and over and over and over again and again and more again in different ways. And the feed is so fast on social, and you get new subscribers, you get new email people on your list. Mm-hmm. Well, they didn't see what you did 6 months ago.
Right. And, you said that repeat piece, right? We talked about that one. Like, we need to repeat it. And here's the wonderful correlation between those two. If you prepare those interview questions right, and you are prepared for those conversations and those discussions, that repurposing piece, you want those things because they are gold. Because it's someone else asking you those questions, and you just get to answer them. Because then it's a conversation that you're sharing rather than a telling, right? Because nobody wants a telling video. They want a sharing video.
So true. That's a great point.
So, as you said, the piece about this debate that you just had, and I think I caught a piece of that, and I did this again when I read it too. I come from the music industry, and I can't tell you how many times we would go to a venue and they would be mad at us because we didn't bring people because it was our job to promote. I'm like, well, it's your business and your club.
Your event. You just are paying us to be here.
Yeah. So you want to sell more booze? So you should probably get more people in here.
Yeah.
And yes, we're going to do our part, but
for sure,
especially if it's a new market, it's totally on you actually. And then next time we'll definitely make sure, right? We're going to make sure we knock it out of the park. Right. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, it's exactly the same. And I hear it all the time. Yeah. All the time. Oh, that's on you. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, we need to.
And it's in your best interest to do it anyways. Like I'm just, it boggles my mind. I really don't get it.
It makes me laugh every time. And every time I see a podcast, like, I am to the point now, like, I follow a bunch of podcasts. Yours is one of them that I follow a lot. And then I go to see who the guest is. And then you know what I do? I go to their social pages and see if they're actually posting.
Ooh.
And if they're repurposing or they're reposting or reusing the content that they did on that podcast. Because if they don't, I mean, I don't know that I want them on my podcast.
right?
Right.
That's
so
important.
it's like a way to vet them out.
Yeah.
But also just to continue, because you said this in the beginning of the episode, and this is so important. There are not enough resources out there for people who are guests on podcasts. Oodles of them for being a host, like endless, right? And so, which is why I wanted to have you on here today, Lindsay, because you're an invaluable resource to folks who are being a guest on a podcast. Is there anything that you would like to share with the audience or leave them with as we kind of wrap up here this afternoon?
For sure. So obviously I spoke about some of the ways that you can be more strategic on interviews and just a different way of thinking of the conversation. I do have a guide that shares the 5 shifts to turn podcast guest interviews into real results. And that is at leverageyourpodcast.com/clients.
Okay.
And of course, I do interview impact reviews all the time. So if you're like, I have no idea why I'm not getting results, I'll look at your guest, your assets, listen to an episode. I, dissect it according to like 9 different elements and give feedback that you can actually take action on. So yeah, I love doing them.
Wonderful. Well, I will make sure that link that you just shared is in the show notes, and folks can have access to it. I can share, here's a live testimonial for you, is those impact interviews, they work. They really do. Lindsay does an amazing job. It's extremely thorough. And the most important piece is she gives you something to take action against when you're done. It's not just like a peer review where you just hear good, bad, or indifferent things about what your experience was, and then you walk away with nothing. That's not the case in this. So please, if you even have a slightest interest, reach out to Lindsay. Make sure that you connect with her on her social media. Make sure to go listen to her podcast as well.
Yeah,
she's got some wonderful guests, and
I've had you on.
Yes, I've been on there. So make sure that you are checking that out. We'll make sure, Lindsay, to put all of those links where they can connect with you in the show notes and the descriptions so that they can get to all of the spaces.
You bet. And the regular URL is smoothbusinessgrowth.com. They can find all of my resources in the podcast there and such.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Lindsay. I appreciate you this afternoon. If you are listening and you are still with us 33 and a half minutes in, thank you. Leave me a rating or leave us, subscribe. But here's the most important part that I always ask is share it with one person, because one person will change the world. And so just share it with one person. That's all I ask. That's all Lindsay is asking for today. Because if you heard one thing of value, it's of value to at least one person in your circle.
True.
So please share it.
Great idea.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I will see you all down the road.
Thanks for cruising with me on this episode of Rhythm of the Road. Remember, the journey itself is the destination. Until next time, keep the rhythm flowing, and we'll see you down the road.